My husband burst through the door with his mistress on his arm and kicked me and my belongings into the pouring rain to impress her, unaware I secretly owned his company and the house we called home. The rain fell that night like it sensed the tension about to rise, cold sheets slamming against my skin as I stood on the marble steps of the mansion I had bought in cash 6 years earlier. Water soaked through my silk blouse in seconds, plastering it to my body, while Derek, my husband of 9 years, laughed loud enough for the whole gated neighborhood to hear. His mistress, Tasha, a 28-year-old junior account executive from his department, clung to his arm like a trophy, her red dress already spotting with raindrops. She smirked at me, flipping her wet curls. "Get your cheap shit off my property, Nadia," Derek snarled, tossing another suitcase down the steps. It burst open, my designer heels and silk scarves scattering across the driveway like discarded dreams. "Tasha and I need space, real space, not whatever broke, boring life you've been dragging me through." I stood there, shivering, arms wrapped around myself, rain mixing with the hot tears I refused to let fall in front of them. 9 years. 9 years of funding his lifestyle, paying the mortgage on this $8 million estate in Atlanta's Buckhead, secretly wiring bonuses to his account so he could feel like the provider, all while I ran Everett Global Solutions from a private office downtown no one knew belonged to me, the $50 billion logistics empire that quietly moved freight across every continent, while Derek bragged at company happy hours about climbing the ladder. "You think you're somebody now?" I said quietly, voice steady despite the cold, "because you brought your side piece home like a prize?" Tasha giggled, pressing closer to him. "She's pathetic, babe. Look at her, standing in the rain like some charity case. You deserve better." Derek's chest puffed out. "Exactly. I've been carrying us for years while you played housewife. Now it's my turn to live." He slammed the door so hard the crystal chandelier inside rattled. The lock clicked. My own lock. On my own house. I didn't bang on the door. I didn't scream. I simply picked up the nearest suitcase, the one that held my laptop and the encrypted drive with every board document, every offshore account, every ownership paper that proved the truth. Then I walked down the long driveway through the storm, heels sinking into puddles, until I reached the black Mercedes G-Wagon parked at the curb, the one I'd bought last year and let Derek think came from his promotion bonus. Inside the car, heat blasting, I finally let the tears come. Not from pain, from rage. Pure ice-cold rage that burned hotter than the rain outside. How dare he? I had built Everett Global from a single warehouse in southwest Atlanta 15 years ago, right after my father died and left me nothing but debt and determination. I stayed invisible on purpose, board meetings by secure video, no photos in annual reports, every executive contract written so the founder's identity remained buried under layers of holding companies. Derek thought he worked for some faceless billionaire in New York. He had no idea the faceless billionaire slept beside him every night, paid his car note, funded his golf club membership, and quietly approved every raise he begged for. I drove through the rain-slicked streets, past the glittering high-rises where my company occupied the top 3 floors of the tallest one. My phone buzzed in the console. Vanessa, my chief of staff. Emergency, board flag. Derek Everett just submitted a vacation request for 2 weeks starting tomorrow. Also, security logged him bringing a guest into the executive garage tonight, Tasha Monroe, same woman flagged in HR last month for inappropriate office conduct. I stared at the message, rain drumming on the roof like applause for the revenge already forming in my mind. I typed back one line. Me, approve the vacation. And pull every camera feed from the Buckhead property tonight. Time-stamped. Send to my private server only. Vanessa. On it. You good? Me. Better than good. I pulled into the underground garage of my downtown penthouse, the one Derek had never seen, the one I kept for nights when work ran late. The doorman nodded as I stepped out, dripping wet. "Miss Everett? Rough night?" "You have no idea, James." Upstairs, I peeled off the soaked clothes, stepped into a scalding shower, and let the water wash away the humiliation. But the plan stayed, crystal clear. Tomorrow, Derek would wake up in my house with his mistress. He would go to my company thinking he was king, and I would begin dismantling the lie he built his ego on, one quiet, devastating piece at a time. By the time I stepped out of the shower and wrapped myself in a robe, the reflection in the mirror looked different. Not broken, not the discarded wife standing in the rain. She looked like the woman who owned everything. And tomorrow, Derek Everett was going to learn exactly what that meant. I sat at the marble island in the penthouse kitchen, opened my laptop, and began. First, a quiet email to HR. Subject: Performance review, Derek Everett, immediate. Then, a call to the property management company that handled the Buckhead estate. Effective immediately, change the locks on 1420 Peachtree Lane. Owner override code, Evergreen 47. New resident access denied to Derek Everett. Then, a single text to my personal attorney. Me, prepare the divorce papers, full asset disclosure, no prenup, and flag every account tied to Everett Global. I want him to feel the ground disappear. The reply came instantly. Attorney, already drafting. You want the nuclear option? I smiled for the first time since the rain started. Me, nuclear, but slow. I want him to watch it burn. Outside, the storm raged on. Inside, my empire waited, silent, patient, unstoppable. Derek had kicked me into the rain to impress a woman who didn't even know my name. By the time the sun rose, he would be the one drowning, and I would be the storm. The rain had stopped by dawn, but the air in Buckhead still felt heavy, saturated with the scent of wet magnolias and fresh betrayal. I didn't go back to the mansion that morning. Instead, I drove straight to the gleaming glass tower downtown, Everett Global Solutions headquarters, floors 38 through 40. The top 3 levels no one ever associated with my name. Security recognized me the second I stepped out of the elevator. The night shift guard straightened like he'd seen a ghost. "Miss Everett, didn't expect you this early." "Unexpected morning," I said, voice calm. "Send coffee to my office, black, and tell Vanessa I need her in 5. My private office took up half of the 40th floor, floor-to-ceiling glass on 3 sides, minimalist black walnut furniture, a single orchid on the desk that my assistant replaced every Monday. No photos, no personal touches. Just clean lines and power that didn't need to shout. Vanessa arrived before the coffee, tablet already open, expression unreadable. "Board packets ready," she said without preamble. "Derek's vacation approved. He CC'd Tasha on the request. Team building retreat, he called it. Also, property management confirmed. Locks changed at 2:14 a.m. Access codes revoked. He tried the front door at 6:47 this morning. Security footage shows him and the woman arguing on the porch for 12 minutes before they left in his Audi. They're currently checked in to the St. Regis downtown, Suite 1408, paid with his corporate card. I took the tablet, scrolled through the stills. Derek, red-faced, pounding on the door. Tasha in yesterday's red dress, arms crossed, looking annoyed. No sympathy stirred in me, only clarity. Freeze all cards tied to his name, personal and corporate. Let him feel the first pinch. And pull his performance file, every review, every bonus, every expense report. I want the full trail of how much of my money he's spent pretending it was his. Vanessa nodded once.
Already compiling. One more thing. HR received an anonymous tip last night. Photos of Derek and Tasha in the executive garage, time-stamped. Same night he brought her home. The tipster suggested inappropriate supervisor-subordinate conduct. I raised an eyebrow. Anonymous? Vanessa's lips twitched. Very anonymous. Came through a burner email routed through 3 VPNs. Untraceable. I almost smiled. Good. Escalated to ethics committee review. Quietly. No names yet. Just let the process start grinding. She left to execute. I sat alone for a moment, staring at the city waking below. Atlanta sprawled out like a map I'd redrawn myself. Ports, warehouses, trucking hubs, all connected by the invisible threads of Everett Global. Derek had spent years bragging about his big accounts, his promotion to VP of Client Relations, his 6-figure salary. Every raise I quietly approved, every client I steered his way, every deal I let him close so he could feel important. My phone buzzed. Derek's number. I let it ring 6 times before answering. "Nadia?" His voice was tight, edged with panic. "What the hell is going on? The locks are changed. My key doesn't work. The alarm code's been reset. I can't get into my own house." I kept my tone even. "It's not your house, Derek." Silence. Then a harsh laugh. "What are you talking about? We bought it together. Mortgage is in both our names." The mortgage was paid off 3 years ago. In full, cash. My name only on the deed. You never noticed because you never looked at the statements. You just spent the money I put in the joint account and called it providing. Another silence, longer this time. "You're lying," he said finally, but the confidence was gone. "Check the county records, or try the garage door opener. It won't work either. I had the system reprogrammed last night." I heard him breathing hard. In the background, Tasha's voice, muffled, impatient. "Babe, what's taking so long? We're late for brunch." "I'll call my lawyer," he snapped. "Good idea. You'll need one." I hung up. By noon, the first cracks appeared publicly. Derek's corporate card declined at the St. Regis restaurant. Security footage forwarded to me by the hotel manager, personal favor, showed him arguing with the maitre d', face flushed, Tasha standing behind him, looking mortified. He tried his personal Amex, also frozen. Cash App transfer from a friend, declined, flagged for suspicious activity. My attorney had already placed holds on anything linked to Everett accounts. He called me 3 more times, voicemail each time. The messages grew progressively desperate. "Nadia, this isn't funny. Whatever game you're playing, stop. We need to talk." Then, "I don't know what's going on with the accounts, but this is ridiculous. Call me back." Then, "You're embarrassing me in front of people. Tasha is asking questions. Fix this." I didn't respond. Instead, I logged into the internal HR portal and opened Derek's file. Performance reviews, glowing for the first 5 years, right around the time I started funneling bigger clients his way. Then plateaued, mediocre, relies heavily on team support, needs to develop strategic independence. The last review, written by his director, who reported 2 levels below me, was scathing. Demonstrates entitlement, frequently takes credit for group wins, inappropriate personal relationships flagged by multiple team members. I forwarded the entire file to the ethics committee with one note. Subject: formal investigation, Derek Everett. Inappropriate conduct, misuse of company resources, conflict of interest. Review immediately. Suspend access pending outcome. By 4 p.m., Derek's corporate badge was deactivated. He tried to enter the building lobby. Security turned him away politely but firmly. Footage showed him pacing outside the revolving doors, phone to his ear, yelling into it. Tasha stood a few feet away, arms crossed, checking her watch. At 5:22 p.m., my attorney texted. Attorney, papers drafted. Grounds, adultery, financial misconduct, irreconcilable differences. Asset division, full disclosure of all marital property. You own 92% of liquid net worth. House, vehicles, investments, all in your name or trusts you control. He gets whatever he can prove he personally earned. Almost nothing. Alimony request denied preemptively. Ready to file when you say. I typed back. Me. Hold until tomorrow. Let him sweat one more night. That evening, I drove to a quiet rooftop bar in Midtown, same one Derek and I used to go to on anniversaries. Ordered a martini, sat alone watching the city lights come on. My phone buzzed again. This time, a text from Derek. Derek, I'm at the W. They won't let me use the corporate card for the room. Tasha's pissed. She thinks I'm broke. What did you do? I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed one reply, the first one since the morning call. Me. I did nothing. You did everything. Enjoy the view from the bottom, Derek. It's about to get a lot clearer. I turned off read receipts, blocked his number. Then I finished my martini, left a generous tip, and walked to my car. Tomorrow, the ethics committee would call him in. Tomorrow, HR would suspend him pending investigation. Tomorrow, the divorce papers would land on his new hotel doorstep, served by courier while Tasha watched. And tomorrow, I would finally step out of the shadows I'd hidden in for so long. Not to destroy him, to let him see exactly who he'd thrown into the rain, and who had been keeping him dry all along.
The next morning broke clear and merciless over Atlanta, the kind of sunlight that exposes every crack in the facade. I arrived at the tower at 7:15 a.m., before the cleaning crew finished, before the first executives trickled in. The private elevator carried me straight to the 40th floor in silence. I changed into a tailored black pantsuit, hair pulled into a sleek bun, minimal jewelry except the thin platinum band I still wore on my left hand. Not for sentiment, for reminder, for power. Vanessa was already waiting outside my office with a fresh stack of printouts and a tablet glowing with real-time updates. Ethics committee convened at 8 a.m., she said, handing me the folder. Derek was summoned via email at 7:02. He replied at 7:08, asking for a delay, said he had a family emergency. Committee denied. He's due in conference room 39B in 20 minutes. Tasha was copied on the invite as a witness. She's currently in the lobby trying to get past security. I flipped through the pages, screenshots of hotel charges declined, angry texts Derek had sent to colleagues last night begging for cash advances, security stills of him pacing outside the building at 10 p.m., looking lost. HR suspended him at 7:30, badge deactivated, email access revoked, corporate phone wiped remotely. He's officially persona non grata until the investigation concludes. I nodded once. Let the committee proceed. No interference. I want every question asked, every answer recorded, and make sure the full board gets the transcript by end of day, redacted only for legal. My name stays out of it. Vanessa hesitated. The first time I'd seen her do it. You're not going to watch? I'll watch, I said, but not from the room. Pull the feed to my screen. I want to see his face when he realizes how deep the water is. She left. I sat at my desk, opened the secure internal video link, and waited. At 8:03 a.m., the feed flickered on. Conference room 39B, long glass table, 3 senior HR directors in the ethics chair seated on one side. Empty chairs opposite. Derek walked in at 8:05, suit wrinkled from sleeping in it, tie loose, eyes bloodshot. Tasha followed 2 steps behind, arms crossed, lips pressed thin. She looked like she regretted every choice that led her here.
The chair began without pleasantries. Mr. Everett, Ms. Monroe, this is a formal investigation into allegations of workplace misconduct, including an inappropriate supervisor-subordinate relationship, misuse of company resources, and violation of the Code of Conduct. You've been both provided the complaint summary. Do you have any initial statements? Derek cleared his throat. This is ridiculous. I've been with this company 12 years, top performer. Whoever sent those photos is trying to sabotage me. And the relationship, he glanced at Tasha, is consensual, private, off hours. Tasha shifted uncomfortably. I didn't know it would blow up like this. The chair slid a tablet across the table. We have timestamps, photos from the executive garage, company property, dated 3 weeks ago. Hotel charges on your corporate card for team building, and now your personal accounts appear frozen. Care to explain? Derek's face drained of color. Frozen? That's a mistake. My wife, she must have... Your wife, the chair interrupted. Nadia Everett? Derek nodded quickly. Yes, she's upset. We're having marital issues. She must have done something to the accounts, but that's personal, not company business. The room went quiet. One of the HR directors leaned forward. Mr. Everett, Nadia Everett is not just your wife. She is the founder and sole controlling shareholder of Everett Global Solutions. Derek laughed, short, disbelieving. What? No. The founder is some anonymous billionaire in New York. Everyone knows that. I've been here since... He stopped, looked at their faces. Really looked. The chair turned the tablet toward him. A single document filled the screen. The original incorporation papers from 15 years ago. Nadia Everett, sole director. Every subsequent filing listing her as controlling interest. No New York address, no faceless entity, just my name, repeated. Undeniable. Derek stared at it like the words might rearrange themselves if he blinked hard enough. That's impossible, he whispered. Tasha's eyes widened. She looked from the screen to Derek, then back again. You said you were climbing the ladder, that the big boss was impressed with you. I was, Derek said weakly. The chair cut him off. Mr. Everett, your employment is suspended indefinitely. Ms. Monroe, your access is also revoked pending review. You will both be escorted from the building. Your personal belongings will be boxed and shipped. Do not attempt to return without written authorization. Security appeared at the door, 2 large men in black blazers. Derek stood slowly, legs unsteady. Tasha grabbed her purse like it was a lifeline. As they were let out, Derek turned once toward the camera dome in the corner. He didn't know I was watching, but he looked straight at it anyway. Nadia, he said, quiet, almost pleading, if you're listening, I'm sorry. The feed cut when the elevator doors closed. I sat back in my chair. No satisfaction, no triumph, just a hollow echo where anger used to live. Vanessa knocked and entered without waiting. He's gone. Lobby footage shows them arguing outside. Tasha left in an Uber. Derek still standing on the sidewalk. Looks like he's trying to call someone. No one's answering. I closed the laptop. Send the divorce papers to the St. Regis, I said. Courier, hand delivery. Make sure the concierge knows it's urgent. She nodded. Already arranged. They'll be there by noon. I stood, walked to the window, looked down on Peachtree Street far below. Somewhere in the crowd, Derek was standing alone. Credit cards useless, job gone, mistress fleeing, house locked, future erased. I didn't feel powerful. I felt tired. But the tiredness had edges now, sharp ones. I turned back to Vanessa. Schedule a full board meeting tomorrow, in person. I'm stepping out of the shadows. No more anonymous founder. They need to see the face behind the name. Vanessa's eyes widened slightly, the first visible surprise she'd shown in years. You're sure? I'm done hiding, I said. He wanted to impress someone by throwing me away. Now the whole world gets to see who he really threw away. She smiled, small, proud. I'll set it for 10 a.m. And Nadia? Yes? For what it's worth, you look like yourself again. I touched the band on my finger, twisted it once. Maybe I do. That afternoon, the papers were served. Security footage from the hotel showed Derek opening the envelope in the lobby, Tasha standing a few feet away watching. His face collapsed as he read the first page: full asset disclosure, adultery cited, no alimony, no spousal support, request for full custody of nothing because we had no children, only shared illusions. He sank onto a lobby couch. Tasha stared at him for a long moment, then walked out the revolving doors without looking back. I watched the clip once, then I deleted it. No need to keep souvenirs of someone else's fall. Tomorrow, I would walk into that boardroom not as a secret, as Nadia Everett, founder, billionaire, woman who built an empire while the man who claimed to love her spent it. And when the news hit the wires, because it would, Derek would finally understand. He hadn't just lost a wife, he'd lost everything he never earned.
The boardroom on the 40th floor smelled of fresh coffee and quiet power the next morning. Sunlight poured through the floor-to-ceiling glass, turning the long walnut table into a mirror of light. 22 directors and executives sat in their usual seats, some checking phones, others reviewing the agenda I had sent at 6 a.m. None of them knew what was coming. They still thought the founder was a mysterious New York entity who preferred video calls and anonymity. I stood outside the double doors for 10 seconds, hand on the platinum band I had finally slipped off my finger last night. It rested in my pocket now, like a closed chapter I no longer needed to carry. Then I walked in. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Every head turned. I didn't smile. I didn't need to. "Good morning," I said, voice clear and steady. "I'm Nadia Everett, founder, majority shareholder, and the woman who has been running this company from the shadows for 15 years. Today, the shadows end." The room went still enough to hear the air conditioning hum. Vanessa slid the remote across the table. I clicked once. The wall screen lit up with my name on every incorporation document, every SEC filing, every ownership structure. No more holding companies hiding me. Just Nadia Everett, black woman from Southwest Atlanta who turned a single warehouse and a father's bed-bath debt into a $50 billion global logistics empire. Gasps, a few quiet, "My God." One director actually stood up, then sat back down like his legs had forgotten how to work. I didn't give them time to recover. 12 years ago, I hired a man named Derek Everett as a mid-level account manager. I married him 9 years ago. I paid every bill, funded every lifestyle upgrade, quietly approved every promotion so he could feel like the king of the castle. Yesterday, he kicked me into the rain with my suitcases so he could impress his mistress in the house I own, the car I paid for, and the company I built. I clicked again. The screen filled with the security footage from the Buckhead mansion, Derek laughing as he hurled my clothes into the storm, Tasha smirking beside him. Then the hotel footage of his cards declining. Then the ethics committee video where his face collapsed when he learned the truth. No one spoke. I kept my tone even, almost gentle. I am not here for revenge. I'm here for clarity. Derek Everett's employment is terminated for cause. His severance is 0. The divorce filing is complete. Full asset disclosure. Adultery proven. No alimony. The house, the cars, the investment accounts, the company shares he never knew existed. They were never his. He spent 15 years living in my world while calling me the broke one. I paused, letting the weight settle. Effective immediately, I am stepping forward as the public face of Everett Global. New website, new press release going live in 30 minutes. And every executive in this room will treat me exactly as you treated the anonymous founder, because I am still that founder. Nothing changes, except the visibility. A director in his late 50s cleared his throat. "Nadia, we had no idea, all these years." "You weren't supposed to," I said simply. "I built it that way so no one could use me, not even the man I loved." I opened the floor for questions. There were few. Most people were still processing.
One young VP asked how I wanted communications handled. I told her the truth. Honest, powerful, no victim narrative, just facts. The meeting ended at 11:07 a.m. By 11:45 a.m., the press release hit every major wire. Everett Global founder Nadia Everett emerges from anonymity after personal betrayal. Within an hour, my phone was exploding. Bloomberg, Forbes, Black Enterprise, every Atlanta news outlet. I did 3 quick stand-up interviews in the lobby atrium, calm and composed in my black pantsuit. No tears, no drama, just truth. At 2:30 p.m., my attorney called. Derek has been served again, this time at the cheap motel he checked into after the St. Regis kicked him out. He read the papers in the parking lot. He's not taking it well. Called my office screaming, then crying, then begging for a meeting with you. I stared out at the city. Tell him one meeting, public, tonight. The same rooftop bar where we had our first date, 8 p.m. He can bring Tasha if he wants. I don't care. I spent the rest of the afternoon in my office, answering real questions from real executives who now looked at me with a mixture of awe and fear. I answered every one. No ego, just the same quiet confidence that had built an empire. At 7:50 p.m., I walked into the rooftop bar. The same corner table, the same view of the skyline. Derek was already there, alone, suit rumpled, eyes hollow, Tasha nowhere to be seen. He stood when he saw me, then sat again like his body had given up. I sat across from him, ordered a sparkling water, waited. He spoke first, voice hoarse. I lost everything. You did. I thought I was the one holding us up. You never corrected me. You let me believe it. I loved you enough to let you feel big. You loved yourself enough to throw me away the second someone younger smiled at you. He looked down at the table. I'm sorry, Nadia. I'm so damn sorry. The words hung between us. I studied his face, the man I once thought would grow old with me, the man who chose ego over loyalty. Sorry isn't a refund, but it's a start. The divorce will be final in 90 days. You'll receive a one-time settlement of $250,000, enough to start over somewhere quiet. Not because you deserve it, because I refuse to become bitter. I built an empire while you were tearing down our marriage. I'm not letting your choices shrink me. He nodded slowly, tears in his eyes. What happens now? You disappear from my story, and I step fully into my own. I stood, left a $100 bill on the table for his drink. One last thing, I said, looking down at him. The mistress who helped you kick me into the rain, she resigned this morning, said she couldn't work at a company where the founder knows her name. Smart girl. I walked away without looking back. The Atlanta night air felt different on the rooftop, crisp, full of possibility. Below me, the city lights stretched forever. Every warehouse, every truck route, every contract mine. I pulled out my phone and sent one text to Vanessa. Me. Press release update. Nadia Everett, founder and CEO, announces new era of visibility and growth. Add my photo, the real one. Then I took the elevator down, stepped into my G-Wagon, and drove toward the penthouse that had always been mine. No more hiding, no more pretending. The woman Derek had thrown into the rain was gone. In her place stood Nadia Everett, billionaire, builder, unbreakable. And the rain that night, it had never stood a chance.